Hey guys, my name is Steve Hoffa, and this is for my good buddy Eric. We talked a lot about him moving to Houston and chasing a dream of being a successful real estate agent in Houston. This is what happens when he seemed to fall short, what he learned, and how he's learning to dust himself off. This is the Standing Still Podcast.
We've gone up to this is so great. Like you're doing this thing.
Mm-hmm.
At what point was the turnaround? Because you're back here now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well,
What I mean?
it's been...
So you went there. Everything was going great. You're working for this guy?
Well, everything wasn't going great. That was the thing. I can't say everything was going great immediately. There was a lot of ups and downs in Houston. But I was okay with that. You know, I've made a lot of mistakes that I learned from in the business world. I also made a lot of personal mistakes that, hurt my character and really didn't do me much value.
Huh. Which I feel like we've all done in the early 20s. I'm still doing to today.
Right. So, long story short, things were up and down in Houston. There was days I made a lot of money. There was days I made no money. There was days I was, killing it, going to the gym. There was days I just fucking binge ate and drank all day.
Right.
And what had really finally made me go into a spiral of shit, just going through some shit, man. And it was me and my ex-girlfriend had broken up last year around this time, like December or November of 2016, 17.
Yeah.
Don't look at me, fool. What the
I don't know.
guy-
All of a sudden you want to come back to me.
Well,
I don't know.
you know the years, dog.
I
Don't
do.
you dare come over here with that monkish sweatshirt on. It literally just says monkish on it. You come over here, you eat my casserole, and you get the fuck out. That's how that shit works.
2017.
I'm just kidding.
2017.
Demise,
So I was going through some shit
2017.
2017.
Demise, I love you.
I too. By 2017. That's when
So I was going through some shit 2017. And unfortunately, finding a healthy way to deal with my going through all this shit,
Mm-hmm.
I was finding what I thought was the cure to my happiness inside the liquor store.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I suffered with a mental health issue that I never really touched upon.
Uh-huh.
And so I started seeing a psychiatrist and all that good stuff. And I was diagnosed as clinically depressed,
Really?
yeah, with major depressive disorder,
Mm-hmm.
with general anxiety. And it was something I never really felt that I had to address at times. Like, I was like, man, I'm not a depressed person. I'm not depressed.
Right.
But, there was a lot of days where it was just hard for me to get out of bed, hard for me to, actually go out there and do shit.
Like, momentum is unobtainable.
Yeah, and it was weird. Having my shit was just, I would do things, but to me it was never enough. And it would just make me feel like I wasn't enough. Like, if I would make fucking 10 grand in a month, it was never enough. It was why couldn't I make 20 or 30?
You never give yourself credit.
Or
And
if
I've told you that.
if I just was out there doing good things, to me, I just felt like I wasn't.
He's
And
his biggest critic. That's the thing.
Was it?
That's why I love him.
That's why I love him too, and I can totally relate to it. And I'm not trying to take your thunder, but I can
No.
totally relate to you.
You're good.
Was it? Do you think there was an essence of I don't want to come off cocky. I'm gonna I don't, for me. And I'm not trying to make it about myself. I'm just trying to understand what you're talking about.
Right.
You'll never hear me say I will joke till death of look it. I understand that I'm so good looking. You know what I mean? I will joke that to death.
Right.
But I got a ginormous forehead. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everybody looking on YouTube, I got a huge forehead.
Right.
And it drives me insane.
Right.
And it's getting bigger every day. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, that's a
I think it's
joke.
arrogance.
But what I'm saying is you'll never hear me say dude, I'm a great electrician.
Yeah.
I just won't say that. Not
Right.
because I think I'm a piece of shit, but I just don't I don't know.
Yeah, and that was the thing. I never would give myself that credit, and even though I was doing good things at the time, but I always felt like I was a piece of shit. As weird as that sounds, I went through this time within this past year where I didn't even I couldn't look at reflections of myself. I couldn't look in the mirror because I was just disgusted of who I became.
Right.
And, you know, I had left to Houston with nothing but good intentions. And over time, I became somebody that I never thought would exist.
Mm-hmm.
And
You kind of look back and you're like, when did I become this dude?
when did I lose myself, man? I look
Right.
back on it and I'm like, fuck, dude, when did I lose myself?
Who's somebody, and it could be somebody that's not even real, but like, who's a man that you respect? What do you respect in a man? That's how I should word it.
Mm,
And I'm not excited because it's a huge struggle,
right.
but literally one of the, because I totally agree. I feel like we're having this moment right now,
Right.
Eric, and it's just in time and it's being recorded, and I love it. And Demise, I'm sure you can weigh in on this too. But there's like, you just like all of us. There's like a, how do I put this, man? I'm excited because when you brought this up, I was literally going to bring it up because you grow into somebody, and then there's like this epiphany of like, shit, like how did I become this guy? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And then you literally are just like, all right, well, because you end up not respecting yourself.
exactly.
And so it's like, okay, well, who do I want to respect? Like, be a man that I would respect. Like,
Yeah.
if I were to see somebody do that, it's like, damn, I respect that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, when you see somebody step up, or like you're just standing there quiet and something's happening, and it doesn't even have to be like a superhero. We're like, oh, yeah, and then he kicked his ass. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be that, but you're just like, yeah, the guy was mouthing off, and he told him, like, put him in his place or whatever. Like, be somebody you would respect. So that's what I'm trying to ask you, because I'm actually trying to find that for myself right now. This is 2019, and what I was kind of getting into is like, all right, dude, it's time to be somebody that I respect again. Because I remember I used to tell myself that, like, going into my 20s. And it
Right.
seemed to really work, and then the last couple of years, it just kind of,
You know, I there's a lot of people out there that I actually respect as far as certain crafts and certain abilities to just be. And I think a big inspiration, like a model character, would
Yeah.
be someone like, you know, Gary Vaynerchuk or Tony Robbins, or, you know, some of like, or even my cousin Calvin, man. Just people who are on top of their shit, who make every day count. Honestly, I don't take any of that back, but someone who I definitely always looked up to and who has never let me down. And any time, like when I was in one of my deepest, darkest depressions and I was just in my episodes, I would just watch his videos on YouTube and I'd be like, that's who I want to be and that's who I'm going to be. And it's Casey Neistat.
who's that? I don't even know who that is.
Yeah, he's a he's a YouTube he's a YouTuber, but he's known on YouTube, but he's also done stuff with like HBO and stuff.
No, you know, he actually sold
And-
his shit to HBO.
Yeah,
Really?
he's done
Is he a
but-
motivational guy?
yeah,
Like, what
pretty
does he do?
pretty motivational guy, but he doesn't really try to be.
Yeah, he's just kind
Like
of a straight up.
yeah,
dude.
he's just a straight up guy. You know, he runs every morning. Like, you know, he doesn't do anything without his morning runs.
Hmm.
He's
And
your average man.
yeah,
For real, he's your average man.
has
But he
he's
has a big platform.
he's family oriented.
Sebastian, I
You know,
love
he's just a great.
Oh, I'm serious.
I
Yeah,
know, I love you though.
he's done.
I can't wait for you to hear back on this. But
He's done a lot of cool stuff, not only for himself and for other people. And it was funny because like during a couple years ago, I actually flew to New York because he makes his studio very public. So I flew to New York and I had the chance to meet him at his studio and shit. Even though he says don't do that, so but you know me.
Well, the thing is, you met him though, like
Yeah.
randomly, like, hey,
Yeah,
how small is that car? How small is that car?
yeah, I'm actually in one of his videos on YouTube.
oh, really?
Yeah, I'm
I'll see
actually.
that after this for
Yeah,
sure.
I'm actually in one of those videos.
You're like, I would say, you're like me for sure. And I think a lot of dudes, I don't know if it's as serious in women. I could be wrong, ladies, so don't kick me in the dick on this. But like, a lot of dudes put their self-worth in production.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
man, I made my bed right when I woke up, and then I went on that morning run, and then I did a morning meeting, and then I made my own lunch. I'm making my own lunch now, and then I did this, and then I had a second gym day, and man, I have a regiment, which is all great. I'm not saying you shouldn't strive for that, but and it's kind of a slippery slope. And I remember I was all about that, and then this guy told me that he's like, "Well, you're really putting a lot of self-worth in your production," and I remember thinking, I was like. You're
Why?
right. Like, there's
Why?
more to life than production. You should. It's that classic battle of like, hey, be humble but be motivated.
Right.
You know what I mean? Of like, because there's There's like lazy people like, oh, I'm just being humble. It's like, no, you're not. You're being lazy. And then there's people that are miserable, but man, they get a lot of shit done.
Oh yeah, for
You know what
sure.
I mean? Oh my gosh. And those are the people where you look in, you're like, that guy is killing it, but he hates his life.
Yeah, that's kind of how
You know what I mean?
that's kind of how I felt at times. I felt at times I knew I was doing good,
Yeah.
but I hated every moment of my life.
Yeah.
And I think right now, the biggest thing that I told myself I was gonna take it easy when I moved back to California is that I'm not gonna rush back into things. Like normally I'm the type of guy like I hit the floor running anytime. Like,
Right.
I need things done, or I need. Yeah, I'm just that type of person.
So you're gonna cut off, not everybody, but you're kind of stepping back from the social media, and what I'm getting back a little bit to the productivity side of it. It sounds like, and I'm kind of realizing this together. I'm not like trying to like say that I know everything and I knew everything going into this.
Right.
It sounds like the answer to like if you're not being productive, and you're not happy, and you think, man, if I get a lot of shit done and I make a lot of money, I'll be happy.
Yeah.
But
That's where I fucking
Right.
was wrong, dude.
but what you realize is you're like, that's not the answer.
No.
Like you should still strive for that, but it's not the answer.
It wasn't the answer, dude. Like, and I realized that
There's a root
later
course.
on.
Right. So
Like, you could have money in the bank and still be miserable, and that's exactly how I felt. Like I was doing all right. I was doing all right for myself, and I was actually like felt like I was pursuing what I had left California for.
mm-hmm.
And then unfortunately, with just my type of personality and what was going on in my head, and all the crazy racing thoughts and me not doing enough,
Right.
it led to a pretty shitty demise within the past year.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really just kept me quiet because I haven't shared about it ever, or really like only like personal people that know me have known like the shit I went through and the places I've been. And it's been shitty, dude. If I'm just being honest, man, like I went to rehab 3 times last year,
Right.
for drugs and alcohol. And I was an actual terrible person throughout those times. And I just couldn't stay sober to save my life. And there were so many bad things happening to me. I was drinking my face off, doing fucking drugging like no other, like just fucking doing the dumbest shit in self-harm.
Uh-huh.
Putting on this mask that everyone didn't know what was going on, but everyone knew, but just nobody would say anything.
Would you agree? And I feel like I would say that it sounds like you're saying one of the most difficult things that you can go through is the process of having this huge plan and like going through it and carrying it out. And what you learn is so unexpected. What you learn from the plan is that the plan is not right for you.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like when people go to college for 10 years to become a doctor, and then they start becoming a doctor, and they just like are not into it at all.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like you moved to Houston, and okay, I'm gonna set you back a little bit. You didn't do 10 years, and you're not a doctor.
Okay.
But like, but I'd argue I've never met a doctor as cool as Eric Flores. That's for sure, dude.
Dr. Flo.
Dr. Flo. Dang. You go through this whole plan, and it's such a hard thing to learn that it's not so much like, oh, this plan isn't working out, I can't figure it out. It's, man, I did the plan,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not right for me.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of where it came down to, because like I was doing real estate, I was doing okay at it. I'm not gonna say I was $1 million fucking earner or
Right.
Anything like that, but I was doing okay. I was making good money for myself, whatever. And yeah, I just at the end of the day, I just didn't feel fulfilled in a sense, and it was cool and like I enjoy it. I still think about going back into the industry. Right now, I'm just on a hiatus and just taking a break.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, I told myself within these next couple months, I'm just going to hang out and just do shit that purely makes me happy.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was such in a bad place 6 months ago.
Right.
Like, if you would have saw me, you would have seen a beat up me, someone who's fucking cringing at a pillow, fucking hating his life, wanting to die. Because I was that guy.
Right.
I was sitting in a fucking detox center fucking asking them to kill me.
And now here you are, sponsored by Adidas.
Yeah, and here I am
fucking
sponsored by Adidas.
Turning it around so quick, dude.
And, it's crazy. And this last stint in rehab, I took it to the most I took it down and I just looked at everything when I was sitting there, and I was like, what am I going to do when I get out? Obviously, I can go back to doing the shit I was doing.
Right.
You know, partying, drinking, drugging, doing all this stupid shit that wasn't making me productive as a human,
Right.
and shit that I just didn't fulfill me. Or I could just reinvent myself. And, you know, I had called my good friend and, you know, landlord at the time. And, you know, we talked everything over, and he was like, look, man, I understand if you have to move back to California just to find yourself, but do your thing, man. I just want you to be happy.
Right. Which
And
is a cool guy
yeah.
to say that. You know
super
what I mean?
cool guy, dude, and I love that guy to death. He's taking nothing but good care of me, especially when I was out in the H.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, man. So I took that with a grain of salt, and it was like I just had to say my goodbye to Houston and goodbye to that dream for a little while, and no saying if I'll ever return back to Houston.
Right.
Right now, I literally take everything day by day, and
You're standing at the station, and there's just trains everywhere. And they're like, all right, this train's leaving. And
right.
you're going, well, just give me a minute. I need to figure out what train I want to get on.
Yeah, and I'm not worried if it leaves or doesn't. Like I'm
Right.
just right now.
Another train's coming
yeah,
right
right
behind it.
Yeah, right now I'm just in this headspace where I just need to be happy with who I am as a person, because I've done so much wrong to a lot of people,
Right.
and I've done so much bad shit to myself that I need to just take a step back and just be like, oh fuck, I got to rebuild.
Mm-hmm.
Like I got to be not only better, I got to come back better.
Right.
You know, no one's gonna want to hire a fucking depressed drug addict, fucking alcoholic piece of shit.
See, you keep throwing out these labels,
Yeah,
and I'll tell you, the only label I've ever labeled you as is Eric Flores.
right.
And I'll tell you, you want to know the meaning of Eric Flores?
Hmm.
A guy that I really respect. It's like straight up.
How I feel, we've been painted this picture where we have to, by 25, we just have to have our lives together, or because 30 is right around the corner.
Right.
Or like, you know, oh, you look back at our parents, oh, our parents were buying houses at 20, 21 and having
Right.
kids, starting a family. Yeah, but dude, when you look at all that shit, you can't compare yourself to the generations, the economics, and what your passion is. To me, my passion has always just been people. Like,
Mhm.
I've enjoyed working with people. And whether I know I'm going to make $1 million, $100,000, or fuck, even $10,000, I don't even care. I just want to be able to make sure I'm doing what makes me happy.
Right.
It's been the longest times where the past couple of years I've been doing things for other people, making other people money, making not only myself money and some good money nonetheless, but I wasn't happy.
Right.
Just because you have a number in the bank, just because you have a fucking 800 credit score doesn't mean you're fucking fulfilled on the inside.
Right.
You know, that's all just bullshit, man.
Mhm.
And I just am taking, I think right now is the best time to like ask yourself, what makes me happy? Go do that.
So, what wasn't making you happy about doing real estate in Houston? You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, the end of the day, it's not that the career wasn't making me happy. It was like the constant, to me, I just felt like I wasn't doing enough. Like, oh, cool, I'm helping 2 or 3 clients at the time, but I want more. I want more. I want more. And I've always just been like that, and I hate that.
Like living a life of regret.
Yeah, and I was like, shit, like, you know, I want the success, I want the money, I want all that shit now. I have no patience. I'm a very impatient person.
Right.
And to me, like, none of that, like, to me, it was always like, all right, you know, I've listened to many different podcasts where it's like, you know, keep slow down, you know, be patient. Shit happens overnight, or
Right.
shit doesn't happen overnight. And I was like, all right, well, I've been patient for 5 fucking years. You know, why don't I have an M in the bank?
Right.
You know, why don't I have this? Why don't I have that? And I was so focused on having physical things, like, you know, whether it was cars, you know, fucking private jets, stupid shit.
Right.
Like, I never really focused. Like, to me, I always thought, oh, yeah, I could flex on a private jet. Like, that's fucking cool. That makes me happy. Oh, I get likes on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's
Mhm.
not cool. And I never really felt that. Like, I felt like I was doing all this shit for other people can see it.
It sounds like when you're looking back at Houston and your experiences, you're like, it was going well, but I didn't put in 100%.
Yeah,
Or you think that you didn't put in 100%.
exactly. And I feel like I didn't put in 100%. And to be honest, I know I didn't. Dude, I was suffering with fucking my, if you want to call it a disease, you want to call it addiction, you want to call it whatever the fuck you want. Dude, I was a cold-blooded alcoholic. And I'm not afraid to admit that, man. It's shitty. I look back at who I was, and I just knew I wanted to change everything.
For sure.
And that's kind of where I am now. That's been my whole setup now, is just be more positive and have a better outlook on life. You know, I no longer drink. I've been sober for coming up on 5 months now.
I love it.
Yeah, and it's been a total lifestyle change just because of the fact that, you know, all my friends drink, all my close buddies drink.
We appreciate you.
Yeah, you know, and
Which is crazy.
to tell them like, hey, I don't drink anymore, and
Right.
like,
That's an act of courage in itself, dude.
yeah, and don't get me wrong, I was still my biggest thing was like, damn, am I still gonna be fun? Am I still gonna be able to go to places, dude? I think that's the biggest thing that most people don't understand. Like, if they want to get sober,
Right.
is that they could still do all those things sober. Like, I go to concerts with my buddies. You know, we've been to multiple shows, and I haven't had a drop of alcohol or drugs. You know, we've been to multiple breweries. I could still go shoot the shit with them, laugh my ass off, enjoy my Topo Chico, or enjoy my water.
Not only do I think I respect you a ton for that you're like, hey, I've been going to all these environments where most people think it's not fun unless you're drinking.
Mm-hmm.
But I also respect your friends, Demo, and others. The fact that they're not like, God, he's a little bitch. Like, he doesn't even want to. Just one beer. You know what I mean?
I'm not saying it's a lot of us. It's selective few. There's still a few people who just still
They
talk
just-
a little
Hey,
shit.
at the very top,
They
there's
talk
only
a
a
little
few.
shit.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that just talk shit.
But
they
that's okay. It was
But to me,
okay.
it's like, you could talk your shit. At the end of the day, man, I know what matters to me, and even though I'm not very outspoken about it. You won't see me be like fucking going off preaching, go to AA, be sober for everyone should not drink alcohol. Like, no,
Right.
fuck no, dude. If I could drink alcohol with no consequences and didn't act like a fucking idiot like I did last time,
Right.
I would be sitting here drinking beers with you guys.
Right.
But instead, I'm not, you know, because I know,
You know your limitations.
Unfortunately, I can't drink like a normal person, dude. When you're waking up at 6 a.m. every morning and driving to the liquor store to fucking just get a bottle of vodka or a fucking bottle of Jameson or some fucking beers to just get you out, just get you
Right.
to morning started.
To numb it, yeah.
Yeah. Like, dude, I was not a happy person. I was fucking depressed. I was a piece of shit. I was fucking making promises I couldn't keep. Like, I was just doing everything wrong. Not the character I wanted to be.
You're doing everything wrong, you think?
I felt I was like, well, it's funny. Like, during the time, I'm not doing anything wrong. You know, during that time, I'm doing everything right. Oh, you know, it's not my fault. It's your fault. And I lived by that. Oh, dude, it was always everybody else's issues, not
Right.
mine.
Right.
But when I finally decided to, you know, take that leap of faith and get sober,
Right.
it was that, hey, you know what? I fucking fucked over a lot of people, or hey, I did a lot of bad things to people.
This was about a year and a half ago, you'd say?
Yeah, about a year, all year, man. I only got sober back 5 months ago, like shit. And I'm looking back on it now, like the past 2 months, past 2 months of my sobriety, I've stayed super quiet just because, like, I was like, fuck, dude, I don't even know how serious I could take this. But I knew at this point it was fucking life or death, dude, because I was in rehab 3 times this past year. First time I checked out in a week. Second time I made 60 days.
You want me to tell you a story?
What's up?
About a year and a half ago, right? Episode 4 of the podcast comes out. It's about 2 weeks after it comes out. Okay. I did one with my really good friend Chris Cox. We talked about what it means to be the man.
Mm-hmm. I actually listened to that one.
You did, because you texted me. And I remember you were already out in Houston. I hadn't really talked to you or contacted you since high school. And you texted me, you're like, yo, I listened to that episode. I actually learned a lot. And I remember thinking about you doing real estate, moving to another state, which I didn't have the balls to do, starting real estate, which I know is super hard, especially when you're young, because who the fuck wants to buy a house from a young guy?
Yeah,
You know
that
what
was
I
the
mean?
hard part, getting
Right.
the trust.
I totally get that. And I remember it meant the world to me. I've got a hustle here. It's very small. And this guy from Houston that I respect so much said, hey, man, I listened to your podcast, and I learned a lot. Thank you. All right?
Yeah.
So you're talking about how you're such a piece of shit and didn't do anything. And yet you sent one text, one message to me a year and a half ago, and it meant so much to me, dude. And now you're here in studio.
Yeah. It's
You know what I
crazy
mean?
how life works out.
And you're
right?
telling me, oh, my gosh, I'm such a piece of shit. But here I am
Yeah.
hitting the reset button. What I'm saying, I'm not saying you didn't make mistakes.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you haven't learned a ton in the last few years because I think we all have, but it sounds like you really have.
Oh yeah, I
You know what I mean?
definitely learned a ton, and you're right. I'm not that. I am not. I'd never. I guess I just have. That's how I labeled myself, was a piece of shit. I couldn't treat my own self with self-respect.
You know what people love more than the guy that's a champion is a comeback story.
Yeah, and that's where I'm at, man. I'm working on my comeback story.